All right, guys, welcome to Zoopy, the Autotelic podcast. I'm here with Julia Greenshields from Sarnia, Ontario, Rugby Sevens for the National Women's Team, future Olympian. Julia, I just want to thank you for coming on board here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm kind of a broken record when I say this, but I know with especially Olympian athletes, to find some time out of your day and your schedule. I know it's very tough, so I really appreciate you coming on board here.
Absolutely. I got lots of time these days, so
There we go.
it's
I
good.
appreciate it. So before we kind of dive into things, how I kind of came in contact with Julia for the viewers kind of listening here is we have a mutual friend from Sarnia. So
Mhm.
I always say, being a hockey player, I say like the hockey world is small, but you can even go bigger than that into the sports world and how kind of people connect you. So I want to give a shout out to Mackenzie and Derek Knapp for giving us the introduction, and that's why we're here today. So big shout out to them out in London and the Sarnia area.
Absolutely.
So let's just dive right in to this. I'm excited to be here with regards to, I want to learn more about rugby, especially from a female's perspective, as well as, your journey to where you are now. So kind of give us some insights on how you kind of started your journey into the rugby.
Yeah, so I started playing rugby in high school, and at that point, I didn't even know what rugby was. I didn't play a lot of sports growing up, but when I was around 13, 14, I got involved in basketball because my friends were doing it, and a little bit of volleyball in high school. And I believe I was in grade 9, and one of my friends' older siblings mentioned a trip to North Carolina, a school trip. And for whatever reason, 15-year-old Julia thought there were amazing things happening in North Carolina. So I was like, oh, I want to go on this school trip. And she said, well, you have to play rugby. It's a rugby trip. And I was like, what's rugby? Sign me up. And if I hate it, at least I can say I got to go to North Carolina. And so I signed up. I borrowed my teammates' cleats or my friends' cleats and everything. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I signed up for. But there's nothing in North Carolina, I can tell you that. But it's kind of where my love of rugby started. So I played horribly. I tackled people without the ball. I high tackled. I played horribly, but I really enjoyed it. And I really loved the team atmosphere. And there was something really fun about getting on a bus with all of my teammates and classmates and driving down there. And I just found we were like, it was just a different culture than any other sport I had played. And I really enjoyed that as well. So that's where it all began. And then, of course, I tried playing for Sarnia, the Sarnia Saints team in Ontario as well.
Now that's funny because it's in grade 9. That's quite a big trip to go down to California there.
Yeah.
So in Sarnia, would you consider is rugby considered a bigger sport, or it's just another school sport that people play?
Well, I don't think rugby when I first started, so gosh, that was 13 years ago when I started. Rugby wasn't big at all, and that's kind of why it started in high school. And that's I think why part of my success is that I didn't play other sports, and it wasn't like I fell in love with hockey at 15 years old. If I were, trying to pursue hockey at 15 with no experience, I would struggle on ice because everyone had been playing for many, many years,
Right.
whereas rugby was new to everyone. So I was on the same level of like, if I at least tried or had any sort of athleticism, I would I would be able to progress and learn just like everybody else. I wasn't jumping into something um, that's like a national sport. Like hockey is so big, and same with
Yeah.
soccer and gymnastics. It wasn't hard for me to get into it. I don't think rugby was very big in Sarnia. I think that it's growing now. So,
Yeah, well, even in Canada, I think over the last couple of years, rugby has really grown quite a bit, especially after joining the Olympics as well,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So joining rugby. So what did your parents have to say? Once you joined the team and like kind of coming back after that trip.
Well, it's funny because rugby. I've traveled a lot for rugby. Rugby's been the reason I get to travel the world so much. But I think when I signed up for rugby, I think my parents were like, maybe this is a phase. I don't think they'll ever admit that. I think that they were just like, we'll sign the permission slip, we'll pay the fee, and like she'll come back and say she didn't like it or whatever. And I think like they always kind of flinch on the sidelines when I go into contact or get hurt or whatever. But at the same time, when I come off the field, my mom's helping me bandage up my wounds, clean them out, and my dad's always saying like good game or like trying to inspire me or lift me up and all that. So they're my biggest supporters, and even if they're flinching on the sideline.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you made your way through high school, and obviously you became more competitive outside of school. So before we kind of dive a little bit deeper into this, I just want you to explain to myself and obviously to the viewers out there, just the process of how the rugby international team makes it to the Olympics through qualifications, because I know every sport's so different, right? You have every qualification process is different for every sport, whether it's rugby, soccer, swimming, whatever it may be. So kind of for the viewers and a little bit of education for us here, what's the process that you have to go through as a team to qualify for the Olympics?
Yeah, so throughout the season, we have tournaments. Gosh, I think we have like 8 tournaments. And depending on how we perform in those tournaments, if you're top 4, I believe if you're top 4 by the end of the season, you qualify for the Olympics. So last season, we maintained top 4. We actually came 3rd overall. How it works if we did not maintain top 4, I'm not sure. I believe there are smaller other tournaments that you would have to win, but top 4 get to go. Because I do know that they pick from different regions all over the world for most sports, I believe, but we maintain top 4. So we have tournaments in Glendale, Colorado, Dubai. Now we have Cape Town, South Africa. We have Australia, New Zealand, France, Langford, Canada, Hong Kong. Like all of those tournaments are opportunities for us to perform and maintain top 4. And just before COVID, we actually were tied for 2nd overall. So we were feeling really good leading up to these Olympic Games that are unfortunately postponed. But last year, 2019, we finished top 4, so qualified.
So how long is the season?
Last season, the games began October and went all the way to June.
Okay, so for the Olympics, a 4-year qualification process. So you say you have to be top 4 for one season, or throughout the whole year, you have to remain top 4?
I think by the end of the season leading up before the Olympics, you have to maintain top 4. I don't believe you have to be top 4 the 2 years before, the 3 years before. Okay. But that being said, if you're top 4, you're generally staying top 4. It's a harder job to be, sitting in 10th, 11th, 12th to kind of make that jump, especially when it comes to momentum and funding and exactly. Training and what you have access to as a team in whatever country you're from. Awesome. And we're very fortunate. We're so lucky.
So that's kind of cool you bring that up, because with the Olympian athletes, like funding is so important. So how do you guys go about getting funding, sponsorships? How does that all work?
Well, I think, don't quote me on this, but like we have a facility that's available for all of the national rugby players. So the men's, women's, 15s, as well as like the youth coming up. So the mayor in Langford really wanted us to be centralized here and was really supportive of us having our own facility and a field for us to train on. How the funding comes about for that, I think is there's quite a few sources that comes from, but also there's programs like B210, Own the Podium. I very fortunately received a CAN fund. 150 women were supported with a good chunk of money to help us offset the costs of training and living in Victoria. A beautiful place to live, but an expensive place to live. And I believe the better you perform, the more funding you get, which I think can confuse people, because sometimes the people who need the funding, the teams who need the funding, are not performing because they don't have the funding, and then it's kind of a cycle. So we're super lucky.
Yeah, that's a big point. I with my sister being in judo, it's the same thing. Like how important those tournaments are. Like you said, even though if you're in first, second, third position, you got to maintain, and that's where I think the pressure kind of comes in.
Totally.
But yeah, I think that's huge for Olympian athletes, and just for those who are listening, like they appreciate all the support you guys can get, and every little bit helps, whether it's from a sponsorship or some sort of GoFundMe page, whatever it may be. I know you guys appreciate that stuff, and I hope people can support you the best way they can.
Mm-hmm.
So now I kind of got a gist of how you guys qualify. So what I didn't mention is that, like you said, you're in Langley, BC. You said Langford, sorry. So yeah, Julia's out in Langford from Sarnia. So kind of give me a day in a life through your training, rehab, physio, and all that stuff. What's a day in a life or a week look for a rugby player?
Yeah, so I mean, pre-COVID, we were all able to get together, all 20-something women, plus, coaches, staff, physios, at our facility. And like a typical Monday, we would be in the gym at 9 a.m. and it would be your individual responsibility to roll out and work on any tight muscles. You can book appointments at that time to see a physiotherapist if you need something worked on, get taped up, whatever you have to get taped up. Yeah, you're always taped somewhere. There's always something wrong. Or meet with a coach. So you kind of have that amount of time to just get into the facility. And I always like to make my rounds and say hey to everyone, and how are you doing, what's up, what's new, and talk to teammates about what we're going to work on that day. And then you're on the field. I believe we got on the field at 9:45, and at that point we're on the field, we're doing some sort of sprint session. So we could be sprinting hills, we could be running with weighted sleds behind us, we could be chasing each other, working on any sort of technique, whether it be top speed or excel. And that's about 45 minutes to an hour long. And then we get right into a skills session. So we're on field, we stay there. A lot of us bring out snacks and whatever if we need to grab a quick bite before getting into the skill session. And the skill sessions are usually about an hour to an hour and a half. And that could be working on kicking, passing, working on plays, tackling, anything. And then we have a team lunch together at our facility. We're very, very lucky that we have a chef gosh, we're so spoiled. The more I talk about my life, I realize how I'm very, very privileged. So we have a team lunch together, and we can catch up on anything with each other, whether it be rugby or what we did on the weekend. And then that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, so that we're able to eat, recover, refuel. We're also able to make appointments with the physio at that time, and meetings with coaches, go over any video or talk about skills, whatever it may be. And then we're in the weight room for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Doing some crazy lifts and jumps and hops and whatever we need to do. And then after that, so we're finishing up the day around 3:30ish, and then we have our other appointments, whether it be physio, coaches, rolling out or meeting with teammates, whatever it may be. So we're in there a good chunk of the day. That's a Monday. Tuesday, we're pretty much in there 9 till 3, but we're doing all conditioning. We're on the field. We're trying to create 7v7 as much as we can, like at a tournament in games. So we do a lot of conditioning on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is our recovery day. So we go in, we do mobility, we have massages, physiotherapy appointments. We have ice tubs, hot tubs and stuff. So take care of ourselves in the middle of the week, and then Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturday. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's funny. It's truly, it's nice to hear it from you and from these athletes, but it's eat, sleep, and train, right?
Yeah.
As the expression goes. So it's nice to hear when you guys explain it. So people who are looking to do this, they really get a glimpse of how much or how hard they have to work to get to that level. Oh, that's crazy, crazy. I just have a quick question for you with regards to a rugby team. So it's sevens, but how many girls are on a team?
So when we travel to a tournament, we travel with 13 or 14 girls. However, 12 dress.
Okay.
And like if you ever watch a game, you'll see numbers 1 through 12. You don't get to pick your favorite number and put it on a jersey. It's literally 1 through 12 every tournament. So 7 people are on the field at a time for 2 7-minute halves, and you're allowed to make 5 subs. So all 12 could see the field. At our training facility, every day there's about 20 to 23 girls. So every tournament you have to make top 13, 14.
Wow. That just shows you how competitive it is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of take you back a little bit through the high school stuff and make our way up again. With regards, because we were talking, you mentioned, so you're moving through high school, but then obviously, you come to grade 12, and you have to, make that decision to go to whether you're going to go to school or whatnot. So maybe take us through kind of that period of your time and how you transitioned and maybe what level you were playing and your mindset through, making that decision. And then once you made that decision, where were you, how are you feeling, and all that kind of stuff to give kind of that transition period.
Yeah, I remember being in grade 12. I actually stayed an extra year in high school. And it was because another rugby trip. There was another rugby trip to school. I was such a dweeb. Like, I look back and I'm like, Julia, what did you really value? But I'm happy where I am today, so no regrets. But I remember being in grade 12, graduating, and thinking like, I can't wait to get as far away from Sarnia as possible. I stayed an extra year in high school. I worked a part-time job, increased my average, and of course I went on this rugby trip that I don't know why I valued it so much, but like I said, no regrets. But and then with conversations with my rugby coach in high school, he suggested Western University because they had a great rugby program. And I'm thinking like, that's only an hour away from home. I need to get as far away as possible. But I knew like I really value rugby. I valued Natasha Wesh, who was our coach at university. And I thought like, well, now I got to get into Western. Like this is a whole other task. But anyways, I got in, and I remember my dad dropping me off a few days before, because that's when or tryouts for sports were generally a few days before people could actually move into the res. So I moved in early. I was by myself, and I remember crying and being like, I miss home so much. I wanted to go so far away. Here I am an hour away from home crying like a baby because I missed my family. And anyways, I was so nervous. I tried out and like I made the team. And looking back, I'm like, why was I nervous? Like I think the coach wanted me there. And if I'm completely honest, I'm pretty sure I only got into Western because of rugby. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like I feel bad because I ended up dropping out. I'll get to that. But I dropped out and I'm like, oh my gosh, some other student deserved this. Because anyways, I was there for, September, October, playing rugby, and one of the national coaches asked me to be a part of the developing sevens team, and we called ourselves the Maple Leafs. So the Maple Leafs had a tournament in Barbados, and I was like, absolutely, I'm going to go to Barbados and try sevens. I'd never tried sevens before, so this was new to me. Went to Barbados. It was pouring rain the entire time. And for anyone who's trying to, play sevens for the very first time, the rain and mud is not what you want. But I guess I played well enough that the coach said, hey, like, would you like to come to Dubai? It's like next month. We'd love to have you play for the Maple Leafs again. And I was like, absolutely. So, a month later, I flew out to Victoria, trained a little bit for a week, and then we went to Dubai. And this whole time, I'm bringing all of my textbooks, not reading anything.
That's crazy.
I'm a horrible influence to anyone who's in school trying to balance all this. I could not balance it all. It was crazy hard. And I don't think I performed very well in Dubai. Like I enjoyed it and I got a taste of what the culture and the team was like. But on the very last day in Dubai, the coach was like, "Would you like to move to Victoria and be a part of the team?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So flew home. I withdrew from university because I thought like university will always be there. This opportunity might not. So I was actually the last person to make the team. The girls knew well in advance that they would be moving to Langford, Victoria in January. So I was the last to know. So the best thing for me to do at that point was to drop out of university.
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
what kind of conversation was that with yourself, with your parents, and maybe your coach of Western? How did that all play out?
I think so with myself, it was like, you got to do this, Jules. Like you have to, if you say no now, it might not be there again. There was
Mhm.
also a bit of fear of, if I say no and I try to finish the school year, I would fail and I would not be happy
Mhm.
with my marks. And I would like, for me, it was the only thing to do. And with my parents, like my mom and dad, they're so happy for me and so proud. And they, told me to go ahead and do it. Natasha, my coach, was supportive, but also I had a sense of hesitation from her, thinking like, I don't know if you're ready for this, or like, this seems very sudden, and like, you're the last one to be asked to go, and you had to make a decision like that, whereas all the other girls on the team have had months to prepare, like they know what they're getting into, whereas and it's going to be a reality check for you. And she's right, it was. But I think I had an idea that it would be hard, and it
Mhm.
was really hard.
So just to create a timeline here. So this is your first year university. So you were 18,
19,
19,
19.
19 years old.
Mhm.
And then this team, the Maple Leafs, what level was that? That was like almost like nationals.
Yeah, there's no age group on the developmental team. It was
Okay.
just labeled Maple Leaf. So when we would go, it would be an invitational tournament. So it didn't mean anything. Like it wasn't for world rankings. It was like it was basically to develop young athletes to make it to the
Okay.
national level. So even to
Okay.
this day, we still have Maple Leafs tournaments, and a lot
Oh,
of them happen to be younger girls, who are trying to break through and aim for the Olympics one day.
so you're 19 years old. What year would this be? This would be 2000.
I think this was 2011, 2012.
Okay. And you said rugby was just got into the Olympic was in the Olympics 2012.
So the reason we began centralization is that it had been announced that the Olympics would be in the 2016 Olympics. So we had the opportunity to centralize and prepare. There
Gotcha.
was there was funding, there was support in us doing that. And the reason we're centralized here in Victoria is that we are able to train all year round.
Gotcha. So just kind of putting things into perspective, like you're 19 years old,
Yeah.
and I know people can relate out there when they have to get into university, grade 12s, and how stressful it is. So you've made this decision to go to Western.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're now being have gone recruited
Hmm.
from the top team, and now they're asking you to leave university. So I'm just putting that into perspective for athletes out there and the decisions that you have to come across and make as these top end athletes. Like, I mean, I stressed university about writing an exam or two, let alone making a life decision, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
So, like I was saying, people listening out there, like this really puts things into perspective on the big decisions you guys have to make as athletes and to, pursue your dreams and your goals, whatever sport, schooling program, whatever that may be. So I just wanted to kind of paint the picture for people to really put that in perspective because
Hmm.
19 years old to make
Yeah.
some of those decisions is crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
I was the youngest on the team and I didn't know where I was going to live and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and like things fell into place and I was fine, but I remember being so worried because I I didn't want to be this young immature kid who joined a very serious program with these girls who were older than me and just, be an idiot. I was worried that they would think that I didn't belong there, or didn't deserve to be there, or was too young or immature. And so now that I'm one of the old girls, we get young girls come in, and I always want to make sure that they're okay and they're comfortable and they feel welcome and stuff, because I know what that's like.
And as like in the rugby sport, with regards to, I know other sports, you have like your veterans, your rookies, the veterans kind of put you through that, that rookie initiation with regards to, just being a little harder on you, or, making you earn your stripes, so to speak.
Yeah. No one was too hard on anyone. When I first moved out here, I remember we had a rugby party, and we kind of were paired up with a teammate, and we called each other our swim buddies. I don't even know where that came from, but I was paired up with Barbara Mervin, a vet, and so it kind of gave the idea that we would have each other's backs, and she very much did that and showed me the ropes. So, and I also moved in with 3 other girls, and we all came from, Saskatchewan, Quebec, and the mainland in BC. So we were all very new, and we kind of figured this out on our own. There was no kind of like hazing of any kind. Like, no one ever felt uncomfortable or in danger. We were all a big family. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. So now at this point, you making this team, you obviously had at this point the insights, or maybe the goal to maybe, play in the Olympics. When did that maybe cross your mind? Was it when you moved there? Was it maybe just getting the opportunity to go there, where you said, okay, rugby's going to be full time and I really want to make the Olympic team? Run us a little bit through that.
Yeah, I think so. Anyone who joins this program has the goal in mind of going to the Olympics. It's not like, everything that they achieve along the way is a great achievement, but the Olympics are like the top goal. So unfortunately, I didn't make the team for the 2016 Olympics. I was in like a non-traveling reserve, but I knew I was like, I had the time. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I didn't make this Olympics, I'm going to quit. It was like, I haven't peaked yet. I haven't had my best performance. I understood at that point I was not selected for the Olympics because I was not top 12. And that was just the reality. So, but when I moved out here, I knew that it was to go to the Olympics. And that became a goal of mine. Growing up, I know a lot of people share these stories of growing up watching the Olympics on TV and thinking, I want to do that one day. I didn't have that. I grew up playing Barbies and was outside playing with sticks and just getting beat up by my siblings and stuff. And I didn't watch sports. I didn't play sports growing up. So I can't relate at that level. But I knew growing up, like I knew in grade 9 that I wanted to play at a national level. And then I found out about sevens. I found out that rugby sevens was going to be in the Olympics. So I thought, well, I want to pursue rugby at the best level I possibly can. And that's the Olympics. So it kind of just happened like it's meant to be.
And it's so bizarre, from grade 9 to going on a trip that you just want to go travel to, not necessarily being, a sporty kind of girl originally, and to getting involved in this is just, I love hearing. These are like the stories I love to hear.
Yeah.
It's just too funny. But moving along with regards, I always say a team. You have a team, and then you have sports that are individual sports, right? And I always say being on a team is very unique because, you have your own goals, personal goals, but then you have a team goal. And kind of what you were kind of touching on is people hopefully they'll understand is, you have to have those personal goals because, like you said, you have to be the top 13 or the top 12. You're trying to, bump someone out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're collectively, you have your team goals and girls you're working with. So maybe talk, or if you can explain or give some more insights with regards to how you set your goals for yourself, and then how do you help your team align with the team goals?
Yeah, for me, like goal setting, I'm pretty relaxed about those things, and some might see that as a negative thing, that I do my best to show up to training, and I trust that all of my coaches who are making the plans, who are creating, the skills, they're making me lift weights. I trust that they are going to do the best planning, and I'm going to put 100% of my effort into doing that, whether it be speed, weight, skills, whatever it is. I show up, and that my goal is to do the work. I trust their science and research that that's going to get me to be the best that I can be. Does that make sense at all? Like
that makes sense. And it's cool you say that, because you've made some good points, and some things that have gone brought up in some of my earlier podcasts with regards to trusting the process, especially as an Olympian. You have 4 years until you qualify, or you're at the Olympic Games. So trusting the process, I think, is just a huge point. I'm glad you brought it up, because if you get too far ahead of yourself, you're gonna miss that big gap in between. And our philosophy, kind of on the autotelic mindset, is be in the present moment, enjoy the journey. And I think trusting your coaches in the process, that they're going to get you there. That's where you're going to find. I'm sure you can kind of test this. The love, the passion, and all the fun stuff that goes into the big day, the Olympics, or any of your big matches. So it's such a great point, and I'm glad you kind of brought it up, because it's been coming up quite a bit in some of the other podcasts with some of the other athletes as well. And then, so I want to move in, just because we're talking so much about team, to talk about culture and environment, and what that looks like for your team, and buying into a culture, and some people just don't fit, and sadly it doesn't work out, but you gotta find a way to make it work. So kind of give us, with your team, the culture and the environment that your coaches and the girls put together.
Yeah, I think that rugby is actually like, I found with every time I've joined a rugby team, it's kind of the place where you do fit, because we're all a little bit weird. Like, maybe I'm speaking on, like, I don't mean to speak on behalf of everyone, but like, if I walk into the gym, I see my team, I'm like, we are all so different, but we all have this love for rugby, and we all want to show up and like kick ass and take names together. So at the end of the day, we might leave and go do our own thing. Some people go to school, some people go home, some people go watch Netflix, or go hike or walk their dog or whatever. But when we're all there, we all get along, and we're all so different, that like rugby is our passion, and we all feel like we belong there. And we do have our tight, friendship groups in the team, and that naturally happens with any team. But like, going on tours is fun, and like getting together and playing games, and like not just rugby games, games together, and we all have a good laugh, and we all get on really, really well. That's our culture. It's a pretty welcoming culture, for such an intense, aggressive, game. We're actually very friendly and inviting. So that's why I love it. And social, we're very, very social. Even in tournaments, like we go to tournaments, we play these games, we kick the crap out of each other, and then after the game, we're shaking hands, and we can't wait to catch up with these people who were the enemy for 14 minutes. But we can't wait to catch up with them after the tournament's done, and have drinks and food, and meet up for the banquet or whatever. And we're catching up with each other, whether it's Team USA or New Zealand or Australia. We all catch up with each other. I think the saying was, it's a hooligan sport played by gentlemen or something.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like, most of us watching, we see the barbarics
Mm-hmm.
kind of atmosphere of it. But once it's all said and done, you guys are girls, even like being females too, right? It's a little bit of a different lens with regards to how people view you guys being
Mm-hmm.
so, they would say so manly. But
Yeah.
once the uniform comes off, you guys are, like you said, you have your own personalities and
Yeah. Yeah.
team vibes there. So I think that's a huge. You see that quite a bit if you don't get the other side
Yeah.
of the field, so to speak. So you had a story you mentioned to me, or I asked you a question with regards to what was kind of your breakout moment or your breakout tournament, and I think you had a tournament where you just did really well. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So for a long time, and like this was actually after the Olympics. So, I was struggling I was performing so well in training, and I was like, if I'm doing so well in training and I'm executing everything, but I didn't have the confidence to do it in a World Series match. And I don't know what it was. I think it was a combination of fear of making a mistake and fear of like letting down my teammates and like being in front of a crowd, being recorded, so much pressure. And I wasn't executing, and my spot on the team was on the line. And then we got another coach come in. His name's Matt Barr. He's a strength and conditioning coach, and as well as our assistant coach Morgan Williams. They came in and they worked with me, and I just trusted them. I trusted everything that Matt Barr told me to do in the gym. I would be like, I don't think I can lift that heavy, and he'd like, I will shake your hand right now, and I'm telling you, we're gonna work on this, and you're gonna do it. And I would do it, and I'd be like, oh my god, like he believed in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a tournament in Vegas. What a wild place to play rugby, by the way. Crazy. And I did not make the top team, but my coaches said to me, Julia, we're going to ask you to be the captain of the Maple Leafs team. And I thought, like, I could take this as a huge diss. I could be pissed about it. I could say, why would you knock me down a level? Why would you put me on that team? But I was like, no, like you have to take this as an opportunity to lead and be everything that you hope to see in your teammates when you're in that World Series stage, when you're nervous, when you're scared to make mistakes. So I just did my best to first of all, I was faking it till I was making it. I was like, I'm confident. Does my young teammate need help with anything? Sure, I'll help you. Like, just let your teammates know that they can trust you. And I just went out and I freaking performed so well. And this was Maple Leafs tournament. So it was an invitational tournament. So it didn't mean anything for Team Canada in terms of like with their rankings. It was an opportunity for me to jump in the rankings. And I just felt like at that point in my life, like I felt so fit. I felt so fast. It was the fastest and the fittest I'd ever been. I felt so strong. I felt like I had game sense. I felt like I had vision. And I just took every good opportunity that, like, every time something good happened on the field, I wanted to ride that wave and just let it keep encouraging me in my performance and like instill confidence in myself. And when something bad happened, I was like, you know what? Doesn't even matter. I have to be the best I can be for my teammates right now. So I performed really, really well. And then a couple months later, we had a tournament in Kitakyushu in Japan. And I went out and I just had one great game after another. And like, it seemed like every ball bounced my way. I made every tackle and like my passes were on point. And I could have thought like, was I just lucky? Like, no, I put in the freaking work and I trusted the process. I trusted my coaches. And that was my like breakthrough performance. I was nominated for the Dream Team. So if you don't know what that is, basically at the end of a tournament, they pick 7 like amazing players from the tournament and they kind of create this dream team. And it was the first time I'd ever made the Dream Team. And I just had a really great weekend, really great tournament. And I thought like, I gotta keep riding this wave. So, I mean, I've had bad games, since, and injuries and, other things pop up, but like to know that I've had a taste of it and I know what it's like is huge for me. So I try to, do that with every tournament.
So what I kind of grasp here is what we call getting to like that flow state, being in the zone. And I love the analogy of riding the wave, which is very to ride. You want, as an athlete, you want to ride that wave as long as possible because that's just is propelling you. But I liked what you said because it's come up before in some of my conversations. Use the expression "fake it till you make it," and it's cool because you said before, if you had your questions, you had some fear of letting your teammates down. Can I perform in this? And those are all we call those fear stresses, which play hugely on our emotions and our energies when we go out there. But it's cool to hear you say, fake it till you make it. And basically, what I'm kind of grasping from that is, you just pushed everything aside and said, you know what, hell with that. I'm just going to go out there, be the teammate that this person needs me to be, and rely on the skills you have, and just do it. And I think it's an analogy that comes up all the time, fake you make it, but I actually love it because it's just forgetting everything else, doing what you got to do, and sure enough, it looked like that kind of propelled you to the next level. Seems like in your career, and in sports, like you kind of touched on. Two things: confidence is huge, and pressure, right? And performing at those elite levels, I can only imagine the pressure and the confidence you need. So I'll kind of I'll ask you a question I had here with regards to, a little bit of the pressure that's put on you as an individual and as a team when you go to those international tournaments, how you guys prepare mentally, physically, and all that stuff to perform your best on those days.
Yeah, we very, grateful we have access to a sports psychologist. And we do have team meetings with our sports psychologists to work on things like confidence and distractions and controllables and uncontrollables. Gosh, it's like we talk about it so much, it's like a broken record, if I'm completely honest. And then if we choose to have individual meetings with her, I've had individual meetings with her before, to focus on the one-on-one, the personal things that I'm struggling with, not just a team thing, but personal things. So we have access to sports psych. And then we also have a range of experience on the team too. So people who have been doing this for years, and now I'm one of those people who have been doing this for years. And I encourage the newer girls to ask me for help if they need anything. So now it's just another tournament to me. And there is always a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of, you get to the tunnel and you're standing beside this team that you're about to go, beat up and get beat up. And oftentimes the crowd's huge and your heart is racing and you're like sweating and you're like nervous, anxious. But it's weird. When we get out to the pitch, we set up, we're ready to go. When the whistle blows, for me, when the whistle blows, it's like game time. So crowd doesn't matter. It's freaking hot out. You're dying, you're sweating, you're breathing heavily. But something inside me is able to focus on, task at hand for the most part until I'm exhausted and like, hands on knees, bending over, or getting tackled to the ground. But I have found a way of doing that and like being really nervous, but the whistle blows and it's okay. Next 7 minutes, game time. Get a 2-minute break. We come together as a team. We breathe. We take 3 breaths as a team. We have our ice towels, water. Coach gives us a few points to work on, has a few things to say. Whistle blows again. Let's go. 7 more minutes. And then afterward, we collect as a team again, talk about the game, what's next. So
because rugby's it's such a fast sport, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could share with us some tools or strategies that you use when you're in a game situation where maybe things aren't going well. You have to recover on the spot. Like you said, if you get tackled, to get back up until, you can't be too hard on yourself because you got to go make the next play. So what are some maybe tools and strategies you use to, just flip that switch, let's get back at it, so to speak.
Yeah, I used to be so worried that like after a mistake, I was putting so much of my energy and thoughts into that mistake and worrying about what my teammates were thinking and feeling, worrying about what the coach was saying on the sideline, worry about everyone else watching me. And then and then I'd waste all that energy on that instead of just forget about it. Put your energy into the next step and what you can do to help your team. Because I've also been in the position where my teammates made a mistake and I've had to haul ass to recover for her. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, it's not anger. It's not, I'm pissed that she messed up. It's, we're a team. 7 of us. We all have to work. And people make mistakes, but guess what? I got your back and you got my back. And it's just pretty much known that we all have each other's back. When we make a mistake, like I make mistakes all the time. If I knock on the ball, the whistle's blown, we have a moment, I collect my breath. I usually find a teammate to make eye contact with, and it's just a nod, and it's like, you're good, we're good, don't worry about it, let's go. Like, it's just a second to collect yourself. And then if that's something you consistently mess up or make a mistake, if that's your weaker area, then that's something you deal with after the tournament's done. And that's when you can kind of incorporate goal setting with your coaches and talk about your weaker areas and what you can do. And if it's a specific goal and you want to do 10 passes a day or tackles, whatever, that's when you kind of, can put more energy into that thought. But in a game, like I said, it's such a quick game that you don't have time to dwell on anything. And the opponent's not dwelling on it, so why should you? You know what I mean? Like,
or they're feeding off it if you are dwelling on it. Right?
Yeah, you can read. I love actually reading the opponent's body language because I'm like, you're tired. If you see a weak link, so you also don't want to give it away to your opponent that you're mad or upset or frustrated. And I take a lot of pride in having the ability to be resilient. And like I get tossed around all the time, but I'm not going to let the opponent know that hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So fake it till you make it.
I like with sports, it's almost like telepathically, like you said, you just give that head nod and it's like, okay, like I got you, I got this. You can do like almost like words don't have to be exchanged. It's just like you said, a head nod or a little tap on the shoulder or whatever. And I mean, it's chemistry and it's, like I said, going into flow state as an individual and as a team and gelling together at the right time in the right place. But like you said, it's so fast out there. It's so cool to hear these little things that just happen and not a word is spoken, but you just know.
And it comes with experience as well. And it comes with time. And like, you mess up, like no one's ever come out starting their career and had the perfect game. Like you look up to everyone who's amazing. They've made mistakes and like everyone has the opportunity to be amazing and it doesn't happen without failure. So.
And I think that's the beauty of like team sport. You've got those people to lean on and stuff. I know individual sports, you do have that, but not quite with a team of, 7, 15 other individuals. So I think that's a special thing. I can for sure relate to that when you talk about it. So that's awesome. And I love hearing that because, like you said, as someone watching, you don't necessarily catch those little things, right? In the midst of the game when those things happen. But playing at those high level games, high pressure, and now being a future Olympian, tell me what it means to put on the Canadian jersey. Like that's just a huge accomplishment whenever you can represent your own country.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever I put on the Canadian jersey, I kind of look at like why I get to do why I have this opportunity now, and I do it for my nation, but I also do it for my family. And I'm going to be emotional because like my parents, like I didn't play sports growing up because my parents didn't play sports and they didn't know that life because they didn't have those opportunities. And they took a look at their upbringing and they said, we want something better for our kids. So my sister, my brother, and we have these opportunities because of them. And I want to achieve the best and I want to be the best for them. if that makes sense. So when I put on the jersey, I'm doing it for Canada, I'm doing it for my teammates, but I'm doing it for mom and dad.
Yeah.
And
It's
they're
funny.
so badass.
It's funny you say that because my last week, my social media post was all about team. And, your team, you have, your 12, 13, 20 girls, you have your coaches, but, your family is a part of your team as well. And to have their love and support, I'm sure it just, you can obviously tell it drives you to play at the next level. But, I said this week, everyone plays a small piece of the puzzle, but everyone coming together, helps you achieve, the goal you kind of have at hand. So, family is a huge topic, and I always go back to the balance board. Relationships is huge. We're obviously it's eat, sleep, and train, but you can't forget about a social life and calling your mom and dad just for some advice and tips like that. So that goes a long way, as I can see you getting a little bit emotional here for people listening, but it means a lot. I can see that, and it's a huge part of life in general, right? So obviously with this COVID stuff, things have kind of shifted a little bit. So maybe just explain to us with regards to yourself and your team how you guys are maybe restructuring things with regards to how you're going to tackle the next little bit and where your mindset is at, and how the training's going, and how you guys are doing stuff with such a unique time right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird time right now. And when it first kind of happened, we were all like, I think we all thought it was going to be over in a couple weeks. So we were all like at home doing very minimum what we could do in our own homes. When it was decided that, things are going to be shut down for months, we were very lucky to be able to borrow some gym equipment from the Rugby Canada gym. So up until yesterday, I actually had all of the weights in my gym, and I was able to do most of the lifting. I live down the street from a track and a field, so the more I talk about this, the more I realize how lucky I really am that I do have access to everything. And we also have coaches who are sending us programs. They're setting up Zoom meetings so that they can watch us and help us, assist us with anything. We're doing Zoom team meetings to watch old games and work on strategy. We're trying to create this new normal that is as close to, an in-season as possible. Because everything's going so well with this pandemic in Victoria, we're doing really, really well. We're actually starting to open up the gym again, I believe next week, and we're going to have small groups come in. So we're going to have small groups go in, and we're able to use all of the equipment. And I have a couple teammates that I train with, so I'm able to do some, on-field passing, kicking, and stuff with them. Right before this COVID started, I actually got a concussion in Australia. So when I found out that, so we were supposed to have a tournament in Hong Kong in March. And when I found out that was canceled, I thought, thank goodness, because I'm concussed and I could use a break. How selfish of me to say that. But, and then I found out, okay, the rest of the season's canceled. And I thought, oh no, this is not what I was hoping for. But if I'm being completely honest, and I don't mean to be cliche about it, but I just have to use this opportunity to better myself. And I think we can all agree the brain is pretty important. So I've had 3 concussions, so I'm taking it pretty seriously. And I've been able to rest and relax and not feel this rush to get back into it and get back into tackling and stuff. And I also had other little injuries, my wrist and foot, everything. So that's actually a really nice break for me, as well as many other teammates, I'm sure. So we are using this opportunity to continue as much training as possible, but also take advantage of the opportunity to heal and recover. Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. I kind of feel like this is a taste of retirement. I've also
One more year.
Oh, I'm planning for 4 more years.
There you go.
Twice. That's my goal.
That's
and awesome. I've been trying other ways to stay active, like hiking. hiking around Victoria, because I never did that. I never had the energy, and I live in such a beautiful place. So that's been part of my new normal. Biking, I got a bike and I've been biking around and doing things that people in Victoria do. So that's been pretty awesome. And like I said, we're gonna get back into the gym and small groups and try to create a even closer to the in-season environment.
Mhm. Almost like a blessing in disguise, like you said.
Yeah.
The mind, the body, and like kind of the soul. You guys are so hard on your bodies, but recover the mind. Like you said, even having a concussion is so big these days. To recover and just to
Yeah.
reset, refocus, and reflect too is huge, right? Uh,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you guys are doing. So it's exciting that you guys have, your coaches have put together a little plan for you, but even more exciting that you now know you're getting closer to getting into the gym, and hopefully the season will hopefully pick up sooner than later for you ladies to get going and kicking some ass there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited for, I mean, who knows when we're going to be able to travel again and, compete internationally. But things are looking good for us right now, and it's an opportunity to develop individually and grow. So taking it as I can.
100%. So just to ask all my guests who come on my show, just some advice you'd give someone who's looking to make their way up, to this elite level, whether it's the Olympics or professional, as well as what's some advice someone is giving you throughout your career that has kind of really stuck with you?
Yeah, I think like if you're like pursuing rugby specifically, I would, do a little research about what's available in your town, and maybe at your school, and get involved that way, and ask questions, and do a good job of seeing who will be supportive and positive in your life, and maybe eliminate the people that are negative and not gonna help you be the best you. And advice, fake it till you make it. That's a big one. And not just when you're competing. Like I say, fake it till you make it in that, like, there are days where I wake up and I don't want to go to training, and I, maybe had something, personal happen in my life, and I'm feeling really emotional or tired or whatever. But when I get out of my car at that parking lot, I am like so happy to be there, whether I really genuinely am or not. And I never leave training regretting that I showed up. I always have this fear that if I stay home because I'm having a bad day, I'm missing an opportunity to become better. So I would also say take every opportunity you can to become better. One thing I tell myself is just show up, because that's the first step, and then everything falls into place there. Um, Earn it. If you are a really, really good rugby player in high school and you're the best on your high school team, understand that everyone who's at the national level was also the best in their high school. So when you're funneling your way to the top level, earn it. Don't think that you've shown up and you're the best. You have to work hard and continue to work hard, because even if you are the best, everyone's chasing after you. So work
That's
hard.
awesome. That's awesome. Awesome advice for especially young people who are listening here. And I mean, it's kind of nice you said some great advice there, because it kind of wraps it up here, just from almost starting at the beginning where, like you said, kind of taking chances, whether, it's going on that grade 9 trip, you took that chance, although you didn't necessarily know rugby, but you want to go travel, like, take those chances, kind of follow your heart. I think is huge. And I love your advice there. Earn it. It's very simple, but very direct. And I think I'll be using that one as one of my anchors as I move through my career. So I appreciate that. I'll take that one in as well. So Julia, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to talk with us and sharing some of your insights in the game, your mindset, goal setting, in the world of rugby sevens. We wish you all the best of luck in the 2021 Olympic Games.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I hope everyone who listens enjoyed this.